1 second, guys. Oh. No idea if this is working, so I have no clue. What's up, guys? I'm trying to make sure we are working here, but for some reason the chat isn't showing up. I see your chat here, but it's not coming up on the screen, so give me a second. We are up and running, yes. I'm just trying to get the chat to pop up on the screen. This is so annoying to me. Just give me a minute. I always have an issue with this, and it's every single time I start my stream. I should live stream more, but it's hard for me because I'm, let's see. Overlays, edit. We're going to get this, guys. We're going to get it. It's working? Yeah, I know chat is working, but it's not popping up on my screen. Is it popping up for you guys? Let me try this. No. 1 second. Let me try something. Everybody's messing with my lives. Here, let's try this. It's always an issue with the chat for me. Always. Like, it's showing up here. I want to show you what I'm looking at. It shows up here. Like, this is the template. But then when I go back to what I'm using, it doesn't pop up for me. And I don't know why. Let me try one more thing. Chat properties. What's everybody up to? Maybe it'll start working eventually. We'll see. Preview. We good. We got a lot to go over today, by the way. That's why I figured, you know what? Instead of making a video today, I have time. I have a little bit of time. I probably have about maybe 2 hours. So I'm going to go over a couple things with you guys, what's going on, and we'll see what we could get through today. But first of all, I got to make sure that I could see your chat or see the chat just so I can answer any questions. Let me pop this out. Pop out. There we go. Okay. Over the target. All right, we got this. We got this. I'm going to eliminate the chat on screen just because... Actually, let me try one more thing. I might just be able to get the YouTube chat in here. Let me try this. All right, that works, but let me try one more thing. Oop. Bear with me. Let's see if we could do this. Yeah, the YouTube chat thing sucks. See what's happening to me? I mean, it's on the screen, but I suck. I suck at this. I apologize. All right, let's eliminate the chat. We'll eliminate the chat for now. Yes, Daily Wire. Oh my God. Yeah, so I have good news and bad news about Daily Wire. Here's what happened. About 3 days ago, I get bombarded with text messages, with voice messages, with emails, and let me share my screen so I could show you exactly what I'm talking about. So the good news, I would say, let's see if we can find this. Daily Wire, Moms for Liberty. Yeah, here we go. 7 days ago. Okay. So this was it, right? So The good news, here's the good news, okay? The good news is that a story that we covered similar to what we did with Eversource, all right? That Eversource video that I did prompted, at least I think, I'm not giving myself all the credit here, guys. I'm trying to be mindful of this, but nobody on the news, the legacy media here, was talking about the energy bills. Then what had happened is after we covered everything that was going on with Eversource, the Ben Simino decided, okay, let's do this, and they started covering it. This is a very similar circumstance to the Eversource story, because about 2 weeks ago, maybe it's actually probably 3 weeks ago now, we covered the Moms for Liberty being labeled a hate group as per Massachusetts State Police training. So I ended up getting a tip, and somebody sent me, you know, a couple of items, and that's when our attorney, they sent out a FOIA request to get the transcripts. I got the transcripts, and I went over what the hell was going on, which is absolutely ludicrous, by the way. And then obviously, 2 weeks or however long ago this was 7 days ago, you know, give or take about 2 weeks later, Daily Wire decides to cover this story. And I'm looking at this, and people are texting me. So I'm thinking to myself, on one hand, the good news is that this story ended up getting some attention, right? This story got some attention. The bad news is that I had zero credit. Not that I'm looking for credit. I'd say when I really think about this, I'm more happy that it's getting coverage. So Daily Wire covered it. Daily Caller covered it. Fox News covered it. I think the CEO was on Fox News. We're going to try to find that video, by the way. She was on Fox News talking about this and what was happening. So I think that the fact that more mainstream news outlets ended up covering this outweighs any kind of accreditation that I would have gotten. Okay, I'll just be honest with you. I would rather that happen than anything else, because it just brings a spotlight. It brings more attention on what's happening here in Massachusetts. At least that's my opinion of this entire thing, right? So anyway, oh, we have the chat on the screen. Well, it is what it is. Let me get rid of this. There we go. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go over a couple of these articles. We're going to do a lot today, as much as I could get done in 2 hours, and I'll try to read your comments too. Just bear with me. I don't live stream that often. So yeah, you got to give me a little bit of time here. So let's take a look at this. The group responsible for training okay, we know all of this. Trains more than 20,000 police officers across the Commonwealth. What I'm looking for here is who supplied the training. Who is writing the trainings? That's just as important as the training itself, right? Who supplied the training? So let's take a look here. Because this stuff is crazy. And the fact of the matter is that I'll almost guarantee you, okay? I'll almost guarantee you it's going to be usual suspects. Moms for Liberty. All right, there's nothing in here about this. Let's try Daily Caller. Daily Caller, Moms for Liberty. How's everybody doing, by the way? I thought it was Daily Caller. Massachusetts. Moms. Here, maybe this is it. Blue State hate crimes official behind police course comparing concerned parent activists to neo-Nazis. I mean, never mind. I'm not even going to say it. I don't want to get myself in trouble. Here we go. Okay, Massachusetts hate crimes. Trooper Emily Tedisco of the Massachusetts State Police Hate Crimes Awareness and Response Team, HART, is listed in the training syllabus as one of the two co-authors of the course, with a slideshow comparing Moms for Liberty to white supremacists and Antifa. You can't even make this stuff up. Like, this is so far-fetched. Like, it's just so unbelievable that it's even hard to... I feel like... This is how I feel. The more far-fetched of an idea it is, the more likely Massachusetts is going to implement said idea. Okay? Let's see who this is. Emily Tedisco. Healy Driscoll. Let's try this. Emily Tedisco, Moms for liberty. No. Let's see what we could come up with here. Let's try Trooper. Is that them? Let's click this. Is this them right here? This person? Did anybody talk about this on Twitter or X? Let's see. Let's see what we could come up with here. Because I don't know. Here, let's try this. Ooh. Emily. Wait. I think I have it. There we go. Clearly State Trooper. Emily. That is her. This is her. They all look the same. They all look the same. This is who's writing the police training. This is one of the co-authors of the police training for Moms for Liberty. Okay? This is who wrote this. It says here, this Massachusetts State Trooper, Emily Tedisco, she co-authored a police training course teaching future cops to think of Moms for Liberty as a hate group alongside neo-Nazis and Antifa. And she holds multiple positions of power in the state. Clearly, State Trooper Emily Tedisco is a member of the LGBTQ... Oh, hang on. Let me silence my phone. Okay. She shouldn't be allowed to have her... We know that these domestic terrorists... By the way, the biggest threat... This holds true not only in Massachusetts, but throughout the entire country. The biggest threat to this country is within this country, okay? I'm just going to put it at that. These are the people that are causing all of the issues. I'm telling you. That is the reality. Now, let's see who else is in here. Because it says co-author. Let's see what we got. Who is the co-author? They had the syllabus. Let's see here. Here, this is it, by the way. Let me blow this up for you. Let's do this. Moms Liberty. Oh, this is the syllabus. That won't be in here. Okay. Let's try author. Freedom of speech. Here we go. Freedom and hate speech. Here we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Emily Tedisco, Massachusetts State Police Heart Unit, and Hannah, this person, MTPC Curriculum Specialist. Let's see if we can find Hannah. Let's just go to Twitter or X, whatever it is. Let's try this. Wait. The enemy within. Who is this person and who is writing these things? That's what I'm interested in. Here we go. Oh, this is their salary and stuff. We don't want that. Why can't I find this person? They're like non-existent. Let's go back to the... Hang on. Let's try this. I got to see what these people look like, guys. I'm sorry. No pictures in there. Let's try this one. There's AOL wrote an article on this. I mean, damn. This person's like a ghost. No, I can't find this person at all. Google's hiding them? You think so? Here we go. Municipal. Do these have pictures? No. No pictures. Yeah, this article, I mean, this article's everywhere. It's insane. Lawrence Times? No. Yeah, I can't find this one. Let's try one more thing. Oh, this is right from Moms for Liberty. Blue State hate crimes official behind police course comparing, yeah. Authors of the course with a slideshow. This is Moms for Liberty. This is it right here. This is the actual document. Moms for Liberty, a conservative parents' rights organization that has emerged as visible players in U.S. education politics. Engaged in local school board politics and elections across at the forefront. Design Moms for Liberty's anti-government. Designated Moms for Liberty as anti-government extremist group. Members use parents' rights as a vehicle to attack public education and make schools less welcoming for minorities and LGBTQ plus students. Oh my God. I'll tell you what, I get sometimes when I read this stuff, guys, I get really fired up. I mean, look at these groups that are in here. Well, of course, Antifa, Proud Boys, who else? Super Happy Fun America. I don't even know what the hell that is. Extinction Rebellion. Climate Emergency. Breaking news, the Suffolk County Sheriff was just arrested and taken into custody on extortion charges. Really? I'm going to look that up real quick. Holy shit. Suffolk County Sheriff Stephen Tompkins arrested, indicted for extortion. Blow this up. Arrested in Florida after a federal grand jury indicted him on charges of extorting $50,000 from a cannabis company. He was taken into custody Friday morning and has a court appearance scheduled in Florida on Friday. Tompkins is accused of extorting the money from the owner of a national cannabis retailer seeking to do business in Boston. The company is not named in the indictment. Okay, so we don't know who the company is. Tompkins is alleged to have extorted an executive from a cannabis company using his official position as sheriff to benefit himself. United States Attorney for Massachusetts. We're trying to get Leah on the long format podcast too. She's just extremely busy, but they have been in communication with us. Foley called the allegation actions affront to the voters and taxpayers who elected him. Sought to make himself the man of the people. I'd go on Tim Pool's podcast, but he's like substantially larger than I am. I'm just some guy. Let's see. Wow. That's crazy. You know what's crazy? Look at this. Let me go to Boston Globe. I want to look something up right now. Let's type in Moms for Liberty. Nothing. Let's try Moms for Liberty. Nothing. Let's go to the Herald. Nothing. Search results. Moms for Liberty. Nothing. That's how it goes, guys. You know, like they don't even cover stuff that's happening in their backyard, right? It's crazy. Let's try one more thing. Let me police training. Police reform, of course. That's nuts. They didn't even cover it. They didn't even cover it. Everybody, all the national news networks are covering this story, and our local legacy media is not covering it. Take it from there. Take it from there. It's unbelievable to me. It's crazy. Jesus. Oh, they have this guy on here too. Why do I think that is? I mean, I just think they're beholden to a lot of the politicians here, right? It's a lot different. So what happens here is when you have these, you know, legacy media, these like backyard newspapers, whatever they are, you know, a lot of times they're really beholden to the politicians that they cover. And not that this is like a political thing per se, the Moms for, I guess it is kind of political, right? But yeah, I just feel like they feel as though it's not in their best interest to put a spotlight on some of the very damning things that happen. And, you know, whether or not they're bought and paid for, whatever, I have no idea. A lot of people have been saying that about me too. Like, I'm not funded by anybody. Anybody wants to fund me, let me know. Let me put it to you that way. But no, it's just, I just feel like they're less likely to cover a big story, right? Unless they're forced to do it. And to have all of these other organizations, whether it be Fox News, Daily Caller, Daily Wire, AOL, whatever it is, you have all of these different news sources that are covering this, and you can't even get coverage in your backyard. So look at it this way. If you're a resident here in Massachusetts, you're more than likely relying on your local legacy media to cover stories within the state that you live. And they have to go outside of the state that they live to even find what's happening in their backyard. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It really is. It's nuts. I got to tell you, but before, oh, let me see if I can find this. Hold on. Moms for Liberty, Massachusetts. I want to see if there's any videos on this. Here we go. Hold on.
Listen to this. This is absolutely wild. Parental rights group Moms for Liberty is speaking out after claiming that the Massachusetts Police Training Manual labels their organization as a hate group on the same level as Antifa and neo-Nazis. Citing the Southern Poverty Law Center, the manual says that, quote, members use parents' rights as a vehicle to attack public education and make schools less welcoming for minority and LGBTQ plus students.
Listen, let me explain something to you. I have kids. Like, I don't care what people do. It doesn't matter to me what people do. I really don't care, right? But the reality is when you introduce these things into schools, And you have like all of these characters that are coming in and giving story time and readings and this and that. It's inappropriate to me. And that's my feelings on this. Okay. Especially like high schoolers. I mean, it's substantially worse when it's like grade school, elementary school, right? Like that's where this becomes problematic because these kids are trying to figure out what the hell is going on. They don't even know how to read and write. Okay. And then you have these people coming in and giving these readings that's just ridiculous to me. Okay. It's ridiculous to me. And again, I don't care what people do, but I don't like it being introduced into school systems, okay? Schools should be about education, but it seems as though we are getting further and further from actually educating kids on math. Like these kids are coming out of school, they don't know how to read and write. It's insane to me.
Students. Moms for Liberty co-founder Tina Descovich here to discuss. Tina, look, let's face it. We've reported on it. We've had you on talking about it. You get a lot of hate from the left. But do you ever think that hate would make it into a police training manual, which one would assume is kind of like right down the middle?
No,
unbiased?
It's ridiculous.
Here's how you police. Here's how you fire a gun. Here's how you arrest the suspect. It just seems wild to me that you're included.
Yeah, as CEO and co-founder of Moms for Liberty, it's very concerning to me that the people that have been charged with protecting us and keeping us safe have been trained. We've seen the manual and the presentation.
Let me just say this before she gets into it. I'm sorry I keep pausing this, but I got to give some commentary. I have a lot of friends that are police officers, okay? I also have friends that are police women. Same for, firemen or firewomen too. I'm willing to bet, and I said this in the video, but I'm willing to bet they're reading these things. Could you imagine sitting there? Could you imagine sitting there, going through that training and looking at that Moms for Liberty thing and being like, what the hell is going on?
That was given during the training, they have been trained that we are a threat, that we are a danger, and that's very concerning to the safety of my members.
Just to be clear, I want to go on the record. Have any Moms for Liberty members burned a city like Antifa, which is, again, also on this list right up there with you guys?
Of course not. That's ridiculous. You know, I get to work every day with the very best moms and dads across the country that not only volunteer in classrooms and show up for field trips, but they're working on policies. They're working with their school boards to create policies and implement policies that protect children from the things in schools that are harming them right now. They are standing up and speaking truth. And the fact that the Southern Poverty Law Center has added our organization to their hate map
it's rough
has
out there.
Absolutely led to things like this training, like police being trained that we are an anti-government extremist group, or that we are equivalent to groups like Antifa that are burning down, whole neighborhoods.
And also linked to a PBS article with regard to your organization. It just seems like, once taxpayer funded PBS, I should add, seems odd that they would be categorizing you like that. Before we let you go, have you heard from any police officers who are supposed to be, on the lookout for the big bad Moms for Liberty?
Yeah, the good news is most police officers see right through this radical training that's being put on. This radical training, by the way, is being put on by an entity that is government funded through the state of Massachusetts, through all, being put out through all the state to all the municipal police officers. So this is not just a one and done in one area of Massachusetts, it's statewide. So it is extremely concerning what is happening.
I didn't know I had to lock my doors because Moms for Liberty were on the loose. But Tina Descovich, thank you for illuminating us on this. We have reached out to the Massachusetts Municipal Police Training Committee for comment, but have not yet heard back. Tina,
of course not.
Sorry you were dragged into this. We'll be watching to see if anything changes in this manual.
Of course they're not going to comment on it because they know it's ridiculous, right? Like that's what it boils down to. They know it's ridiculous. That's why they're not going to comment on it. I mean, come on. I mean, it's unbelievable. So that's what's going on with Moms for Liberty. All right. That's what's going on with Moms for Liberty. But you think of it this way. You know what happens here? And I'll comment on, I saw the comment about rent control. Are we still live, by the way? Let me double check. I think we are. Yeah. So here's what happens. You give these politicians or whomever it may be, you give them an inch and they take 365 miles. Okay. That's what happens. And the further it goes along, the further and further away from reality that we actually get. Okay. That's my opinion. I mean, I'm relatively conservative, don't get me wrong. But the fact remains is like, you know, the more leverage that you give these people, the more leverage that they take. Perfect example of this. Number one, they introduced that inspection bill. So basically, if you're, not that I want to talk about real estate here, but somebody talked about the rent thing. So they introduced the inspection bill, which basically, in a nutshell, you write an offer on a property, they've eliminated the negotiation aspect of inspections, like on the offer itself. So if you're selling your home, you technically don't know whether or not the buyer is going to do an inspection at the time of accepting said offer, okay? They've eliminated that as a negotiation. I think Massachusetts is the only, I did some research on this, and I can't remember everything, guys, okay? But I'm almost positive that Massachusetts was the only one to enforce this or start this at the level that it's at. So they've removed that. And I'm not saying that people should or shouldn't get inspections, but I feel like these are adults, right? These are adults. They should be able to make their own decisions, okay? That's number one. Number two is the broker bill, okay? Where the tenants could no longer, and I know you guys are divided on this, and I understand rents are high, real estate is high, okay? But trust me, this is coming from experience and knowing what happens throughout the country when things like stuff like this happens, right? Based on data and metrics, right? This isn't just, I'm not just making this stuff up. So the fact remains, they introduced the broker bill, which basically tenants can no longer, or like the tenants are not required to pay an agent 1 month's commission to show them the property and procure the property, whatever it is. Now they want it to come from the landlords. And again, not to go on a rant here, but you think that all the landlords across the entire state are going to absorb that cost? Absolutely not. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. So they will reintroduce that cost within the actual rent. Okay. It will take time, but they are already planning on doing this. All right. That is just the way that it is, guys. All right. It's just the way that it is. Number three, now they're talking about rent control. So rent control is another huge issue. Every single part of the country that they tried to introduce rent control in, it has failed. And even here, it started in Cambridge. SPOA got rid of it back in the 90s. I can't remember if it was like 94 or 97, whatever it is. But it doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work. So now we went from the inspections, we went from the broker bill, or the landlord bill, whatever you want to call it, to trying to reintroduce or talk about rent control. And of course, the Globe was the first people to effectively report on the rent control thing. I don't even know what'll be next, right? I don't even know what'll be next. Soon the state will be taking your property. I have no freaking clue. But it's just one thing after the other after the other. Brokers shouldn't be involved in apartment rentals anyway. The problem is, like, a lot of people have like anecdotal examples of this. And don't forget, here's the reality. Nobody needs to use an agent for anything, okay? Nobody has to use an agent for anything. So you have to think to yourself, why are people using agents? They're not using agents because they have to. They're using agents because they want to, okay? Because they want to eliminate any levels of liability, especially on the landlord side, right? They want to limit any levels of liability that is humanly possible. But again, even prior to these bills, you don't need an agent to buy or sell a house. You don't need an agent to rent and or rent out an apartment. Like, you don't need them. It's just people opt to do that because sometimes it is the path of least resistance, okay? Cars are next. Yep. Nanny state strikes again. Let me read some comments here. Rents could go up to cover the cost, theoretically, okay? They could theoretically go up. If look at it this way, if the landlord incurs more cost, it's highly likely, like, look at it. Here's a perfect example. Do you think that they're not going to raise rent if their taxes keep going up? Of course they're going to. So the more costs that the landlord has to incur, guess what happens? the more costs they're going to try to pass down to a potential tenant. All right. That's just the way that it goes. And a lot of people here. So here's the biggest misconception that I see a lot of people talk about. Like they think a lot of these, and don't get me wrong, these like generational landlords, yeah, they may be making a good amount of money, but the metrics are against a lot of these statistics. If you're like a new landlord or you want to be a landlord or something like that, Massachusetts, Eastern Massachusetts, has some of the lowest capitalization rates, I think, in the country, to be honest with you. Like you're lucky to see a 5 or a 6%, okay? A 5 or a 6%. We have agents in other states, okay? So I know what goes on. I've seen capitalization rates as high as 14, 15, and 16%. Now, the only difference is that those areas that have such high capitalization rates, which is basically the difference between what you pay for the property, in a nutshell, what you pay for the property versus the amount of rent that you're collecting, okay? You could look up a cap rate calculator to look at this data. But in states that there's high capitalization rates, meaning your rent roll is very, very high, traditionally those properties don't appreciate at the same rate, at least normally, as a lower cap rate property. Because if it's at a lower cap rate, chances are you're already paying a premium on that. All right, that's the way that it goes. You might want to research. You might want to research just exactly where the 20% cannabis tax monies are going in this. That's one thing. Does anybody know where the gambling money, like from casinos and these like DraftKings, like where is this money going? Is it evaporate? Like where is this money going? Seriously. Does anybody know where the money is going? I feel like nobody knows where the money is going. Between the roads in my town are still absolutely terrible. They're awful. They're absolutely awful. You could drive around any town here. The roads are horrible. Where the hell is the money going? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I just don't know. One second, guys. Oh, wait a second here. Mike, check email. Uh-oh. Wait a second. Let me do this. All right. Uh-oh. All right. Hang on. Bear with me. Now, I cannot confirm or deny. Let me open this as a new tab. Where are we at here? This is supposedly Hannah that I was looking for earlier. I can't confirm or deny this, but this is an email that I just got. Okay. This is who is co-authoring the police training. This is the co-author, so allegedly, the co-author of the police training. Yes, there is. Matt, yes, there is. Do you see a pattern here? Yes. It's all, I'm telling you. I am telling you guys, these people are a bigger threat to democracy than any foreign entity. I'm telling you, it's, oh my God. I don't even know what to say. All right. The Hunger Games live. Yes. It's literally the Hunger Games. It's insane. It's really crazy. All right. So let's go. Let me check something out here. Give me 1 minute. I want to show you something else. Am I live on X, by the way? I don't even know. I tried to, but I don't think it's working. No, I don't think I am. All right, let's move on. Let's go to the next thing. Let me see if I can pull this up. So, this MassDOT Apple Green. This stuff that's going on, I don't think you realize how big of a deal that this actually is. Okay, I really don't think people are absorbing how big of a deal this is. So Apple Green won the bid. And if you were selling your home and the difference was you're getting $600,000 or you're getting $1.5 million, which offer are you more likely to take? Okay, which one would you be more likely to take? Obviously, you want to net the most amount of money for your home, right? I would probably take the $1.5 million offer, but MassDOT took less than half of that. Why? That is the main question. How does this happen? How? Let me do this. Let me pull up. Thanks for sending me that photo, by the way. Let me see if I can find this. Apple Green. I'll see if I can share this. I think I can. I'm trying to find the bid. Because it's ridiculous. Where are we at? I can't find the damn bid now. Is this it? Nope. Just bear with me. Actually, you know what I'll pull up? I'll pull up this. This was there's an ethics complaint form. I got to talk about this for a few minutes. There's a lot of stuff going on with this, by the way. There's a lot. Let me put it to you that way. So apparently, this guy, I think this Scott Bosworth. It says, by way of background, an accounting of Apple Green's proposal, as presented by Bosworth's representation to the MassDOT Board of Directors on June 18, 2025, against Global's offer, clearly demonstrates that Global's offer is worth nearly $900 million more in guaranteed rent for the life of the lease. Global's proposal also included more than double the fuel revenue share and nearly twice the revenue share from convenience and food sales post-revitalization. These are not small differences. This is critical funding that could directly support the Commonwealth. Here's a good breakdown. Okay, here we go. Look at this. Total rent guaranteed. And by the way, before I get into this, look, I'm not an expert. I know what bidding looks like, okay? Back when I was an electrician, we used to do closed bids. Obviously, I'm in real estate too. But this is very simple, okay? These are very simple numbers. Global Partners, $1.512 billion, firm and guaranteed. Apple Green, $623 million, up to $994 million per MassDOT's presentation. Total estimated rent is estimated, not a guaranteed amount. So what they're doing is the Apple Green, I believe, is giving a portion of their gas sales back as a form of revenue in a state, again, that is trying to eliminate gas vehicles, okay? And look at this. Fuel rent, 12 cents per gallon, pre and post revitalization. Apple Green, 0.072 per gallon, pre-revitalization, dropping to 0.059 a gallon. Gross sales rent, 10%, 13.8% pre-revitalization, dropping down to 5.2 or 5.32% post-revitalization. Annual guaranteed rent, $25 million year starting rent, estimated $16.4 million, dropping to $14.3 million post-revitalization. Total capital investment, $650. Total capital investment here, $750. This is initial revitalization plus investment over a 35-year term. So this is how much money they're planning on investing on these projects. Now, one of the reasons Apple Green might be higher is because they put like fast food franchises in their buildings. I think like a Burger King, and I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure like Burger King or McDonald's, stuff like that. So that's why that's probably a little bit more. Supplier diversity commitment, 5% of contract value with 15% goal, 2% of contract value with 10% goal. Let's keep going through this. Personal financial interest in the selected bidder, the Blackstone connection. Blackstone is a private equity firm that majority owns and controls Apple Green's parent company, and Bosworth's financial incentive was aligned with ensuring their success. Bosworth was simultaneously negotiating personal employment while positioned to influence procurement decisions. During public comment provided by Apple Green, officials on June 18th of 25 stated they had been working on the RFP, I don't know what that is, for 3 years, putting that squarely in the time frame Bosworth was actively seeking employment with the very team that was ultimately selected. Need I say any more? Coincidentally, Bosworth's MBTA pay reportedly increased by over $70,000, approximately 30% around this same time frame, raising questions about whether his public salary was increased to retain him while the procurement process was ongoing. Like I said, guys, I'm reading this to you live, right? The more far-fetched something seems, or the least likely something would seem to happen, the more likely it is to happen here. I mean, this is ridiculous. Now, again, they are alleging that these things happened, but guess what? If you have so many coincidences, or so many different coincidences, you think to yourself, there's got to be a pattern, right? This represents a potential serious conflict of interest. A public official negotiating private employment with the ultimate beneficiary of procurement he would later control. Such behaviors appear to violate some sort of section in code, which provides that no employee of a state agency shall knowingly or with reason to know act in a manner which could cause a reasonable person having knowledge of the relevant circumstances to conclude that any person can improperly influence or unduly enjoy his favor in the performance of his official duties, or that he is likely to act or fail to act as a result of kinship, rank, position, or undue influence of any state, party, or person. So basically what they're trying to say here is that the bid, at least, look at it this way. The bid was potentially influenced by this guy trying to get a future employment with Blackstone. So that is a potential reason why they accepted Apple Green's substantially lower bid. Process manipulation to favor private equity. The RFP evaluation criteria was structured. All right, I'm not going to read line for line here, but what I'm trying to say here is that it's ridiculous. Okay, that's the point that I'm trying to make. It's nuts. Let me catch up on some comments here. My hair looks like some claymation figure. Really? The roads Worcester are bad. Hydrogen vehicles. Nick, I got to look that up. I was reading an article the other day that some dude out in the middle of nowhere created a like wind powered car or something. I don't know. Oh, thank you for the super chat. I think that's what it's called. Thank you so much. Asha Ashitsu? I'm trying my best. I apologize. Thank you for what you do, Mike. Keep up the incredible content. I don't miss any of it, and put everyone I know onto your page. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You didn't have to do that. Thank you. And if I butchered your name, look, I'm not the best at pronouncing names, guys. I'm not scared to say it. I'm not scared to say it. So, no, I appreciate it. I just think that Yeah, I don't know how to Ashiatsu. I'm trying. Here's a good one. When asked about other bids, Bosworth misled the board, claiming the bids were very close. This is close? While ignoring Global's guarantee of $1.5 billion minimum versus Applegreen's You know what? Here's my thoughts on this. I would love to see a local company. I would love to see them get this, like, of course, right? I would love to see a local company. You know, you keep it within the country, you keep it within the state. Local company, you know, that would be fantastic. But the more I thought about this, so after I did the video the other day and I was ranting for 15 minutes or however long I was talking, I started thinking to myself, like, maybe they dodged a bullet. Like, I mean, maybe they did. I don't know. I mean, obviously they're going to try to pursue this, but like in the back of my mind, I think to myself, like, even though there's all these coincidences, are all of these coincidences lining up to be actually in their favor? You know what I mean? You never know. Yes, Applegreen is the company that won all of the rest area contracts. They also, one second. Let me see if I can pull this up. So here's something that's involving Applegreen as well. Call to reverse the base pay cut and demand for employee first policies. Effective August 3rd, 25, just 6 days after informing employees, Applegreen implemented a new tip pooling system that effectively cuts our guaranteed hourly pay by $3, while the company, let me blow this up a little bit for you guys. While the company frames this as a fair and beneficial policy, it's anything but. Under the new system, employees are now expected to earn $3 per hour in tips just to break even and reach our previous wage of $14 per hour. That means each shift must generate at least $24 in tips per worker just to maintain what we were previously guaranteed. These customer tips intended as a reward for good service are now being used to subsidize our pay base, reducing both our hourly wage and the tips we take home. Where is this happening? Bedford, PA. Let me tell you this much. So I think Kathy, I can't believe I'm typing in this name. Kathy Hochul, Applegreen. Let's see here. Give me a second. Green energy. I can't find it. So I don't think even Kathy Hochul is or however you pronounce her last name, is too thrilled with Applegreen. Because something happened with Applegreen in New York. I'd have to find it. I don't have it in front of me now. If somebody could find it, you know, let me know. But yes, Applegreen is the company that won all the rest, that currently won all the rest area stop bids. Will Applegreen be Duncan's? So that's actually a great question, because within this here, they're using Starbucks. Meanwhile, Applegreen continues to upcharge customers, especially at Travel Plaza locations, items like the Starbucks Venti. So there you go. There's Starbucks. Now, this is out of, for example, at the North Midway Travel Plaza in Bedford, Pennsylvania. So it looks like they probably, yeah, Applegreen, yeah, Starbucks in New York. So, you know, you have all this stuff going on with this company and you think to yourself, like, why would they allow them here? Why would they allow a lower bidder to get it? And by the way, here's the other crazy thing. So Applegreen, and I said this in the video, but I just want to drive this home. Applegreen intends on not paying real estate taxes on all of these properties. So that means every single town, and I think there's 13 towns, if I'm not mistaken, every single town is not going to be generating revenue or money from real estate taxes. So that means less money for the towns. And if they do decide, if the assessors come in and say, look, you got to pay the taxes, they're going to cut that amount of money. And it's like $48 million or something. Okay. It's a lot of money. And that's probably over the life of this lease or however long they're going to be partners or whatever. It's like 48 or $49 million. And if the assessors or the towns, force them to pay the real estate taxes, they're going to carve out that money in rent paid. So no matter if they, and this, I believe, was a stipulation within their entire bid. So no matter if they don't pay taxes, their rent is going to remain the same and the towns are not going to get that real estate tax, okay? Or if they have to pay taxes, they're going to cut that out of the rent that they're paying, MassDOT. It's insane. It's like, normally, look at it this way. Normally bids on paper, they look pretty good, right? Like the stuff looks pretty good, but in practice, it's usually terrible. Not only does their bid look awful on paper, but in practice, it's probably going to be even worse. It's nuts. What do they push the tax burden onto the tenants? Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. They could push if you're talking about Apple Green here, the tax burden on Apple Green is going to be offset by what they're paying in rent. So they will reduce the amount of rent that they have to pay to offset the cost of the imposed taxes that the towns are going to have to make them pay. That's the way that it goes. All right. Where are we at here? Let me heart that. You should do a video on the state's trash problem. We only process 40% of the waste made by Massachusetts and state. Most of what we ship out goes to a massive landfill in Ohio. Really? I didn't know that. Of the waste we process in the state, most of it is handled by an old facility built in the 80s. I'm going to have to look into that, man. That I don't know about. Let's continue. By the way, there's like, I don't know if I could show this. There's this like whistleblower thing at the bottom here. It's barely legible, but they're like linking the dots. Maybe we'll get into that today. Maybe not. Oh, wait a second here. Okay. Previous problematic procurement. You know what I'm thinking about? So Apple Green, hold on. Wasn't Governor O'Healy to travel? I'm curious. Ireland trip, Apple Green. To address Irish Senate. MassDOT used to choose Ireland-based Apple Green. I consider. Well, she was there. I don't know if there was anything going. Let me just click this article really quickly. Oh, wait, what is this? Oh, this is the, this process smell. What's this? Said executive director. Oh, Paul Craney. Let's see. No. Yeah, so she was in Ireland. I don't know what the hell she was doing there, but that was 2 years ago. I don't know who she met with, but I would be very interested to find that out. Steve, thanks, buddy. Thanks for the good work. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. You didn't have to do that, buddy. By the way, what do you guys think about the auditor? I thought this guy has the answers to our real estate problem. Real estate is a problem, and it's a problem that can't be solved. All right, let's go back to that article. MassDOT hired the engineer and consulting firm Howard Stein Hudson to review components of the bidder's revitalization plans. However, according to... Let's see if we get into anything else here. I don't know, man. It's really crazy. I even have emails here. I'm not going to read through this whole entire thing because it's, I mean, you could look at the bids and just say something's up, right? You don't even have to go through all of this stuff. I would call the legislature and be like, what the hell is going on with this? The audit? Is it happening? The legislature's doing everything in their power to block that audit. And what it ended up happening was the AG is, to an extent, is supposed, in a nutshell, is supposed to help Diana, or the auditor, to make this go through. So the auditor sent a whole bunch of documents to her explaining why and what for, and the AG keeps on saying that it's not enough substantial proof. Meanwhile, the auditor, it wasn't 2 pages. It was like 150 pages of like different correspondence on why and what for the audit needs to happen. So now they are, Diana is basically in a position where she's removing her right to the privilege of, I guess, obtaining the attorney general, and she hired her own law firm. But not only did she hire her own law firm, Mike Minogue, who is a huge Republican supporter and also might be running for governor of this state, is the one backing the, at least to my knowledge, based on the articles that I read, is going to be backing the attorneys that are going to be representing the auditor to try to get this to go through. That's basically what's going on. And on top of that, they're putting a ballot initiative on for like public records requests, which would be even worse, by the way, than the audit. Because if the legislature and the governor are open to public records requests, that could be, you know, emails, different documents, all this other stuff. So that could stir up a whole other like bee's nest. Yeah, I like Diana a lot. You know, left, right, aside, Republican, Democrat, but it doesn't really matter to me, to be honest with you. She's great. She's great. But yeah, so what I said in the video, I don't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, whatever. What I said is like, could you imagine that Diana, who's a Democrat, is being blocked by her own party? She can't retain an attorney or get the funding to retain an attorney from some mega Democrat donor that some guy, he's not just some guy, okay? Mike Minogue steps in, Republican donor, decides to, I guess, front the money for the attorneys. So it's not coming from the taxpayers. But meanwhile, the legislature hires attorneys on the taxpayers' dime to block the audit. Like I said, when you talk about these things in the most simplest of ways, they sound ridiculous. It's insane. I get very frustrated covering some of this stuff, by the way. It drives me nuts because I'm reading it. And when I read these things, I just can't believe what the hell I'm looking at. So anyway, let's move on from the whole MassDOT fiasco. I think what they should do here, it's no longer even about whether or not this is a good idea, whether or not global partners dodged a bullet. It all has to do with principle at this point, okay? That's my opinion. Yes, it would be great if a local company got this, you know, won this bid, right? And it was a more substantially more competitive bid. But now it's about principle, in my opinion. And of course, when things like this happen, something is going on. Okay, something is going on. And I hope that they dig and dig and dig and try to figure this out. Even if they enter into a position where, you know, like they can't stop this or Apple Green from going through or whatever, if they expose what happened on the back end, it'll just be damning, right? It'll be damning for MassDOT, and that's it. That's it. There's only one reason why the audit should happen, because it was voted for by the people. Exactly. So that's what I tried to say in the video yesterday. This is basically taxation without representation. If the people vote for something, let me actually say this, and I said this in the video, like, I always think about, like, if people voted for this, like over 70% of people voted for this, why would 70+% of people want an audit on the legislature and what's happening in this state with the spending and everything? Obviously, there has to be some concern there. So it leads me to believe that over 70% of the people here are concerned. But are they going to show that same level of concern when it comes time to vote? And that's realistically what matters, right? So are they going to vote the same people in that are effectively not representing them? That's crazy to me. Will the FBI end up doing an audit? I don't know. That's beyond what I know and don't know. I would have to do research on that. I don't think so. I think the only time the FBI could get involved if the state, like if something did come out that was very damning for the state, maybe the FBI would have to get involved. But as of right now, there's nothing going on. So let's move forward. Let's talk about, let's see if I can pull this up. Oh, one other thing I actually wanted to talk to you guys about. Did you see there was an article for, let me see, home base can't pay rent. Here it is. This is part of the Globe. Believe it or not. Massachusetts resettled thousands of homeless families in apartments. Now some can't pay rent. And that is what's happening. I told you Homebase was going to be a huge deal this year, and that's exactly what ended up happening. Homebase, a Massachusetts government-run program that provides up to $30,000 in total in housing costs to more than 5,000 families who have exited the emergency assistance shelter since 2023. But now they're having trouble paying the rent because Homebase doesn't cover, I think they cover like 2/3. And then what happens is the tenant has to come up with the remainder. Homebase had to pay a bigger share, so the money went out a lot quicker. Apartment now, let's see. Yeah, families, I'm right. Okay, families in the program must dedicate at least 30% of their monthly income toward rent. Homebase pays the rest directly to the landlord. Secondary expenses such as moving expenses, which can amount of upwards of $10,000, are deducted from the total subsidy. The less a family makes in income each month, the more of their Homebase money is used to cover rent. So when articles, I'm surprised the Globe published this article, because what happens here is if a landlord sees something like this, they could potentially be less likely to rent to somebody with this type of program, because if there's issues with people that are paying that are coming from the program, right? It's a big, again, it's another big problem. It's another big problem. Yeah, I mean, I called this a while ago. I mean, I saw the writing on the wall. It was it's you know, you don't have to have a crystal ball to figure this out. Renting is not the American dream. Steve, I talk about that a lot, buddy. Back in the day, you know, I don't know. Things are so much different now. You have two adults working. They could barely afford to live. They're having these kids. These kids are stuck on their tablets. You can't even let your kids go. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I mean, 8, 9 years old, you'd like leave the house. And then you remember when on the TV at 9 o'clock, that ad would come on, like, where are your children? You know what I'm saying? Like, now you can't even let your kids go, outside by themselves. Like, it's insane. They have to be like a teenager or older. So like you have these parents stuck in the house with their kids. They're on their damn tablets all day long. Like it's nuts. And then you have two parents that are trying to work just to get by. Back in the day, you know, you have one person working, the family of four, had a house, had a car, had all these other things, was able to go on vacation, you know, and things are just getting substantially harder and harder and harder. What's this? The Massachusetts State Police Hate Crimes Awareness and Response Team appears to have been created in November 23 by Governor Healy and supported by state leaders. Do you have, Dina, could you send me anything on that? Of course, it's not surprising to me. Not quite. By no means am I questioning. But I'd like to read about it. I'm not questioning if it's true or not. We all know it's higher probability that it's true. Okay. Definitely. I'm going to have to look into, actually, let's try this. Newly created Massachusetts State Police Unit to strengthen statewide. You might be right about this. Healy Driscoll administration launches new statewide initiatives to combat and prevent hate crimes. Launched a new statewide initiative, hate crimes support victims and foster community resilience across Massachusetts. Yeah, this Massachusetts State Police has formed a hate crimes awareness and response team. This is it. A new unit dedicated to enhancing federal, state, and local partnerships. The administration is also delivering $461,920 in hate crime prevention grants designed to support or expand programs that help educators, staff, administrators. Have you guys, I want to show, oh God. Let me show you something. Charlie Baker versus, I wonder if I could pull this up. The amount of what this is what I'm getting at here. The amount of government hiring and different programs and different coalitions and all of this stuff that has been created under Maura Healey is absolutely crazy. Like, it just so many organizations and advocacy groups and this and this and this and this. And the state budget just keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I wonder why. It's nuts. It's nuts. I think like she's like a double the amount of like people working in state government that Charlie Baker was. More government is not always necessarily good, guys. That's what I'm trying to get at here. That's all. It's crazy. Let me look into this a little bit further. Yeah, exactly. It's more administrative jobs that do nothing that the taxpayers pay for. You're 100% right. We're paying for more administrative stuff. And realistically, what this does, this is why they do this, okay? They do this because any little thing that could become questioned, right? It's like just more red tape in front of it. Okay, now we have this coalition for this. So in order for you to get from point A to point B, it's significantly harder. Like, that's why they create these initiatives and these groups and these whatever it is. It's nuts. With hate crimes on the rise across the country here in Massachusetts, it is essential that we bring people together to advance proactive solutions and support our communities. We are proud to launch the Hate Crimes Awareness and Response Team, which will play an essential role in addressing and preventing hate crimes, supporting survivors, and strengthening our communities. We're also dedicating $460,000 to school districts that far too often are on the front lines of confronting bias-motivated incidents and can be instrumental in preventing hate and creating safe environments for students and their families. Here in Massachusetts, we stand firmly against hate. See, here's the thing. Their definition of hate is completely different, given the Moms for Liberty scenario, than everybody else's, okay? Rules for thee, but not for me. If more and more people working for the government will always vote for bigger, 100%. It's crazy. But yeah, she's the one that started, and she must have, I wonder who appointed the people that Here we go. A second round of funding is now available to districts and encouraged to apply. Task Force on Hate Crimes, Secretary Reedy in prison. What's this? The Legislative Task Force on Hate Crimes, co-chaired by Secretary Reedy and President of Kraft Family Philanthropies, Josh Kraft, continued advising the administration on issues relating to the prevalence, deterrence, and prevention of hate crimes. How do you guys feel about Josh or Michelle Wu? I'm curious. The state doesn't have financial problems, it has spending problems, 100%. 100%. Let me see if I can pull this up too. Crazy stuff. Did you guys see this? I didn't cover this yet. Boston's 2030 Climate Action Plan draft. Oh. We make up 0.4% of carbon emissions in this state. 0.4. But we're trying to be a leader. What was CCP? So, but we're trying to be a leader in this, these green initiatives. And don't get me wrong, okay? I'm very, I'm relatively conservative here. Like, there might be a future where this is a reality, but the fact remains is like the cost that it's going to get there. What is it going to be? People 300 years from now that'll see the benefits of this, or if ever? Like, come on. If we could plug an extension cord into the sun, I'd be all for it. Yeah, Wu is beholden to the progressive. You know, let me tell you a story. I actually have two stories I could tell you. I went to the Maha event with Michelle. Michelle Wu was there. So was Josh Kraft. And Maha, what they do is they generate these programs for first-time home buyers, stuff like that, right? You know, they're big on inclusionary zoning, which is basically, affordable units and all these other things. And when Michelle spoke, like, I'm telling you, everything that would be a net negative, a future net negative, everybody's in the room cheering. Like, the problem with a lot of these programs and all this other stuff is it helps people today in the short term, but it causes longer damage in the long term. And Josh wanted to change I believe, the inclusionary zoning from 20% back down to 13%, which was what it was in Boston. And of course, he got not much applause out of the group there. But like, people only see that's a huge problem. Like, people, and I understand this, like, I mean, not as many people are in the weeds as I would say I am, or maybe we are with this stuff. And not that you need a greater understanding of these things. You just have to do a little bit of research, right? But like, the people in the room were, and this was a big room, guys. Like, there was a lot of people in here, and they were him and Han about Josh Kraft's plans. And I'm thinking to myself, like, don't these people understand that, like, when you create or you generate programs like this, you have this inclusionary zoning, you want rent control, you want this stuff. It's like a Band-Aid. It's like putting a Band-Aid on your leg, but your arm is missing. Like, that's basically what it's like. Like, this stuff hasn't worked is what I'm trying to say. But people can't see beyond that. It's the same thing with these climate goals. I want to see something really quickly. Stove. Incentivize gas. I hope none of you guys are chefs. Incentivize gas to electric stove conversions. The city of Boston will build on a pilot program currently facilitating the transition from gas to electric stoves for public housing in Dorchester. The city, together with housing and utility partners, will seek funding and responses to support additional stove replacements with the goal of improving indoor air quality, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and promoting healthier, more energy-efficient homes, particularly in communities disproportionately impacted by pollution and energy burden. Oh, my Lord. Let's see if there's a cost. Do they have any metrics on cost? Here we go. Carbon emission reduction. Reduce community-wide carbon emissions by 50% in 2030 and 100% in 2050. Reduce municipal emissions by 60% in 2030 and 100% by 2050. Implement coastal resilience projects to close near-term flood pathways along Boston's 47-mile coastline, reduce urban heat and expand cooling access, minimize disruption and damage from severe precipitation, climate justice, mitigate the impacts of climate change across all neighborhoods, and prioritize resources. All right. I don't know. Like I said before, if we could have more affordable energy, I'm all for it. But the cost that this is making the taxpayers pay for is absolutely insane. And I've said this once, I've said it a million times. If somebody could show me a net positive sheet, like a scenario or a like future modeling or something like that, I would take a look at it. But I mean, really, like, but how could you spend over $800 billion in New England and then try to recuperate those costs? It's nuts. And again, I don't think, I'm not like, you know, I think about the future and stuff. I would love if we could get cleaner, more affordable energy, but not at the cost of bankrupting an entire state. You know what's funny? And I was thinking about this yesterday when I was driving in my car. I'm thinking to myself, there's going to be a future, and it'll probably be me or Robert Bryce or somebody, but there's going to be a future of a conversion of spend versus savings ratios. Meaning, this is what it costs for us to get, this would be like way down in the future, right? 2050 plus, whatever it is. This is what it costs to get us there, okay? This is what we are saving. And I think that those metrics, you could clip this if you want. I think those metrics are going to be not look too good. Okay, they're not going to look too good. Yes, I still drive a car. What did you say, Roy Boy? The state will start to collapse just like we see in California. California was #1, and we've been #2 the list this last decade. If there isn't change, there's no hope for a future anywhere near the likeliness of pre-woke. Yes. It's wild. You guys want to hear a funny story too? So here's a good one. I was at the, what was I at? Oh, the broker, the landlord bill. There was a protest put on by SPOA. So I went to the protest. Somebody called me. I said, yeah, I'll make it, right? So I went. I was outside of the State House. Apparently somebody, it wasn't one of us, by the way, somebody spray painted, like the FBI. I showed up, the FBI was there, all this stuff. I'm thinking, Jesus, real estate agents are going to great depths to stop this. But I don't think it was any of us. They like spray painted something on the State House or on like the grounds area or the whatever it is, right? The fence. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So anyway, I go, I do my thing. You know, I'm not holding any signs or anything, but I'm talking to people, whatever. I'm trying to, you know, do the best that I can. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to go walk up to the north end. It's not that far of a walk. I'll get a nice walk in. And I'm going to go have lunch, which I almost never eat lunch. I started eating lunch because I've been going to CrossFit recently because I have terrible arthritis. Anyway, that's a story for another day. So I go to the north end. I went to Monica's. What's his name? George Mendoza's place, right? I go there, have a nice lunch, and I leave. So I walk outside. I call an Uber. Get into the Uber. My sister calls me while I'm eating lunch. So I don't take the call while I'm eating. I want to finish up and just get back to work, whatever. So I call my sister in the car. I'm on the phone with my sister for 5 or 10 minutes, whatever it may be. Get off the phone. And I'm in the Uber, and the Uber driver goes, "You sound familiar." And I said, then I thought to myself, oh shit, I'm going to end up in the Charles River. Like that's my first, when anybody comes up to me, my first instinct is thinking, I'm in trouble. I am in trouble. So now I'm in the backseat of this guy's Uber. This guy thinks he knows me. This could either be very good or very bad. Okay. Let's just call it what it is. So I'm automatically thinking, should I say like who I am, all this other stuff? So I'm in there. I get off the phone. He asked me, "You sound familiar." I said, "Oh yeah." he said, yeah. Do you have a YouTube channel by any chance? I said, now at this given point in time, I'm thinking to myself, do I say yes? And then I get out of the vehicle. He sees my photo on the Uber app, or, you know, he puts two and two together. And then I look like an asshole, basically. And I'm sorry, I'm cursing on here, but sometimes it's necessary. Like, I look like an ass because somebody that watches the channel, I told them no, that I don't have a YouTube channel. And then this person is upset, right? I didn't want to make them upset. So I'm left with that decision of just saying, no, I don't know what it is. What is YouTube, you know? Or saying, yes, I have a YouTube channel. So I went with the latter, okay? And I said, yes, I have a YouTube channel. Obviously, I didn't end up in the Charles River. I'm sitting here. But I'm always very hesitant of these things. Somebody came up to me. I went to a concert at the Garden, and somebody came up to me and they said, do you have a YouTube channel? And I always think the same thing in the back of my head. Do I say yes or do I say no? Anyway, so the guy starts talking to me, and he's like, I'm a subscriber of your channel. He goes, not only am I a subscriber of your channel, but I emailed you 2 or 3 months ago about what was happening with the Uber/Lyft lawsuit in Massachusetts in settlement. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I just couldn't believe it, right? I just really couldn't believe it. And so I'm in the car and I'm looking up I'm going through my emails. All of a sudden I see his email. And I'm like, I can't believe this. You did email me. And I said I would cover it, but then, you know, I'm personally going to email him back. So I was planning on, anyway, he ended up being a subscriber. I didn't end up in the Charles River. You know, this wasn't like a hostile situation or something. My body is like not in a bag. So yeah, I'm here, but I was nervous. So anyway, the whole Uber situation, I don't know if any of you guys drive Uber. There was a $175 million settlement that the AG actually helped obtain. And I think the company that is holding the funds, I feel like their name is Rust or some name like that. And he was wondering why they didn't get paid yet. And anyway, they're going to get paid. You guys are going to get paid. I looked up the reason that I came to this conclusion is that I looked up statistical data of other areas that have had similar situations, and they got paid as well, okay? I don't know if I'm still live or I dropped out. Are we okay? Shit, did we drop out? Are we all here? I don't even know what happened. Own it, Mike. You're becoming... No. I'm not. No. I'm just some dude. Okay. It like glitched out on my end. But anyway, yeah. It's a funny story. Another time. I have another one. I forgot about this one too. So, and this is the worst, by the way, is like when I'm out with my family. Okay. I'm out with my family. And we went to Winchester, okay? And they have this, I think it was like 2 months ago. I can't remember, the Inca Festival or something like that. And we're there, and this guy keeps looking at me. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm in trouble. Like, I'm like behind enemy lines here, okay? I'm in Winchester. I am behind enemy lines. And I'm thinking to myself, God, please. I got my 2 kids, my wife. I'm in trouble, okay? This guy kept on looking at me. So finally, my daughter goes on a couple rides. My wife is doing her thing. And thankfully, I was with one of my friends and their kids and their family. So I had some backup, okay? So this guy comes up to me, and I'm not that tall. I'm like 5'9". This guy was like maybe 6'3" or 6'4". Plus, I have terrible arthritis. I'm like, I'm basically a cripple, okay? And a hip replacement. So comes up to me, and of course, the same question, you know, are you so-and-so? I said, yes. And I, of course, hesitated. But, you know, he started talking to me about the energy stuff, and all was good, right? All was good. But I'm always very, very nervous when I have my family with me. It does make some concern. What's this? It's sad that you have to consider how you answer because you criticize the state corruption and make it a trigger A lunatic. Yeah, no, I luckily nothing bad so far. Yeah. What's an LTC? Oh, I know what that is. Yes. I was thinking about going down to what's his name's place, down at the Cape Gunworks, Toby's place. I want to go down there. I actually, what I might do is I might go down there before before summer's over. Maybe I'll take my kids or something like that and take them down there, and I'll go to the range. Maybe my wife could bring them to a beach or something. The hard part is like a lot of these freaking beaches here. Yeah, like you go and you can't find parking, or it's for residents. It's nuts. Like they've changed so much. Dude, the Everett story is crazy. And believe it or not, I actually, here, huge announcement, okay? I don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea, but what keeps happening is that I keep on getting phone calls from people since I did that video that have similar stories. So I think what I'm going to do is, on top of featuring, different politicians or different professionals in different fields on the longer format podcast, I want to provide an opportunity for people to share their story. And I actually have somebody coming on next week. I have somebody coming on next week with like a very, not, different circumstances, but similar corruption, right? And I think I'm going to try to do that every so often, just so I could kind of like, these people, I feel bad for these people, because what happens is, look at how hard, use this as an example. Use the state auditor as an example of trying to retain an attorney that would take the case to fight the legislature to force the audit to go through, and how long it's been. All of this time and stonewalling and blocking and all of these things. Imagine what it's like, for a general citizen, for somebody to take a case against the state or against the legislature or against a municipality, city, town, whatever it is. Like, attorneys don't want to touch it. They really don't want to touch it. So I figured, you know what? If I could do some due diligence here and provide a voice to these people that are in a position that have been a victim of some levels of possible or alleged corruption, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? I'll do it. And they could share their stories and whatever. What do you guys think? Is that a good idea? Or am I going to get in trouble? I thought it would be a good idea. But yeah, the Paul Ryan story is crazy. All right, let me catch up on some comments. I'm going to get rocking and rolling soon too, guys. Not yet. Couple minutes. By the way, I looked at, let me do this. I meant to share something with you. So when I was looking at this document, the Boston's 2030, and I might do a full-fledged video on this, by the way. I don't feel like going through all the nitty-gritty of all the nonsense, but maybe I'll do a video on it one day once I have a little bit of a better understanding of what's going on here. But what I did do is I used this as a template to see if this state is using some kind of proof of concept in other areas. And of course, you could look no further than California. Okay. California, this document here, this document is very similar to what they are trying to push in California. I think what is happening, this is my opinion, I could be completely wrong, and maybe get your tinfoil hat on. I think what's happening here in Massachusetts, this is not, I don't think any of this stuff is random. Okay. Even the real estate. I don't think it's necessarily random. I think what they're effectively trying to do, I think a lot of these governors I think they have like a playbook or something. Like, I don't think they're just pulling things out of thin air. Okay. I don't think that's necessarily happening. But I think what happens is one state piggybacks off another. So for instance, like a lot of times different bills that are drafted within the legislature are something called copycat bills. Now, I don't know everything about politics and I don't know everything about bill writing, but I do know this. If one bill works in another state, there is a high probability, if it aligns with the goals or the narrative that the adjacent or the, let's say, state B is trying to do, they will basically write a copycat bill. Of course, maybe they'll change some of the language that's applicable to the state that they're drafting it in, so on and so forth. But I feel like there's some like levels of coordination here between what is happening in California and Massachusetts. And for instance, this climate action plan is very, and I'm going to show these differences. Like, again, I got to get all my bearings together here. My son was sick, unfortunately, so I've been a little bit behind. But anyway, and I was just busy with real estate stuff. So there's like a correlation here of what's happening, and it extends beyond just the climate action plans. So I feel like there's like this congregation of people that are basically getting together, and they're like demoing something in one area. And if it gets positive feedback, if it gets negative feedback, or it, you know, it works or it doesn't work, you know, they try that same proof of concept. It's like opening a business. They're trying that same proof. They're like franchising out the climate action plan, basically, right? And now we have, we're part of this franchise. So if it's working in one area, they tried in another. And I feel like a lot of these states, and I'm sure this happens on the Republican side too. Let's be honest. Let's be fair, right? But the difference is a lot of what happens on the Democratic side, you know, I really feel like the Democratic Party, and I'm sorry if there's Democrats in here. It doesn't matter to me what you are. I really don't care. But like, just in terms of approval ratings, like I feel like they're doing everything that they can to get to single digits. Like, I don't know if you guys feel that way, but they have to get to a point, and I'm not trying to advocate for this, but I just thinking like logically about this, you know, the fact of the matter remains is like, if the common, you know, working class people are not aligned with their party goals, don't you think they shouldn't double, triple, and quadruple down on the same exact party goals? Am I crazy to think that? Like, how could you keep on digging the hole deeper and deeper and deeper, right? Like that's what I feel like is happening here. And of course, this could happen on both sides. I'm not discrediting one side or the other. This could 100% happen on both sides, but the parties are so different from what they were, right? That's the key here. The parties are completely different. But like, I don't even like, really, what is the Democrats' message? Their message today is the same message that they've been pushing for forever. And the fact is, the majority of the American people are not aligned with that message, right? I mean, look at this. I want to show you something. Let me see if I can pull this up really quickly. Hang on. Give me a second here. I wonder what's going to happen to that sheriff, by the way. That's actually pretty crazy. Or where are we at here? Hold on. Where is it? Anyway, what I was going to show you was a graph of how many more people in Massachusetts. It's like over 200,000 more people voted Republican than Democrat. Like there was another 200 plus thousand versus 2020. That's a lot of people, guys. Okay. That's a lot of people. And, you know, I could see this realistically. If everything starts to become a net positive in the country, if grocery prices go down more or go down, gas goes down, like, you know, we create more jobs, like, you know, the further and further away, I think that, you know, Democrat voters are going to continue to vote. Like, of course, maybe not in blue states, right? But obviously the transition is happening because we did have over 200,000 people that voted for, voted for Trump than we did in 2020. So the fact remains is like, you think to yourself, come 2026, are those same people going to show up and perhaps vote for a Republican governor? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But yeah, it's wild. All right, hang on. Let me catch up on some comments. Did you hear about the town where the state took away their mascot and high school logo? Agawam. I've been to Agawam. I was going to list a horse ranch there or something. But it was like way far out. But I can't remember if it was a referral. I think I ended up referring it out. But I've been to Agawam. But that's crazy. Let me see here. Have you paid attention to the ridiculousness of gerrymandering? You want my opinion on gerrymandering? You might not like my opinion on gerrymandering, but I'll tell you. So gerrymandering, look at it this way. If gerrymandering, if this was a video game, this would be patched out of the video game. Okay, it would be, right? Because it's basically like an exploit is what it is. Now, I'm mindful that this has been happening forever. It started here or whatever. It's been happening forever. So it's like the horses are already out of the barn. There's no way to bring them back into the stable. Okay, but on both sides, it's crazy when you think about it. And guess what? I could be mindful of the fact that whatever party is in control is going to do everything in their power to try to retain that control, okay? And if gerrymandering is an answer to retain control or to get more seats, whatever it may be, and they're going to redistrict a state, they're going to try to do that. Now, the hypocrisy alert here is this happens on both sides of the aisle. This happens on the Democratic side. It also happens on the Republican side, as we are seeing today. But overall, I don't think there's any way to correct it. Because again, the horses are already out of the barn. Like the redistricting and all that stuff has already happened. So this is just going to be like a revolving door happening, you know, every 4 years or however, you know, whenever it does happen, depending on who's in power. But I think it's a little bit like when you think about it pragmatically, it's a little bit ridiculous. Okay. I understand it. People want to win. And they want to retain their power, but it is a little bit ridiculous. That's my opinion on the gerrymandering situation. 100%. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. One other thing before we wrap up. Have you guys noticed this? I feel now, hold on one second. Let me see. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. But to me, I feel like more people are being a little bit more vocal in Massachusetts. Like I feel like more and more people are becoming more vocal of their political beliefs, their political views. And I'm not saying that like it could just be the political climate in general, right? But I feel like more and more people are starting to come around to the idea of having conflicting opinions with perhaps their family or friends or coworkers or whatever. And I think that says a lot. I really do. I think that says a lot. And the other thing I wanted to tell you guys is like, look, when it comes to governor, maybe I'll make a full-fledged video on this, but when it comes to governor, you know, I realistically think that even if, you know, if it's Brian Shortsleeve or Mike Keneally, or if Mike Minogue decides to run and they don't get in or whatever happens, I feel like people, and I'm not the authority on this, by the way. I'm not the authority on this. This is just how I think. So I feel like the people that are, you know, that may be voting for these candidates, whoever it may be, okay? I feel like if Keeley gets in again, I feel like a lot of people are going to be so disappointed, right? And I think I explained this. So I had a long format podcast on Wednesday. I think I may have tried to explain this. But anyway, you know, the fact is this, like things don't change overnight. And if more people, if you see a correlation of more people voting, even if one of the Republican candidates don't get in, but they received an enormous amount of more votes than previous years, right? Maybe 2026 isn't the year, and that sucks. Don't get me wrong. But the fact remains is like consistency. That's the key here, right? And I always talk about this. It's chipping away at the stone, okay? If you want to continue to have a one-party majority rule here in Massachusetts, the fastest way to speedrun that is to not have the same level of consistency and vigilance that you have prior to an election season than post-election. You see what I'm saying? I feel like a lot of people will get disillusioned by, or not disillusioned. I feel like a lot of people will just be disappointed by, you know, whoever they voted for not getting in. And then they feel like this is worthless, you know, and to a point I could understand that. But guess what? It'll always be worthless if you think that it's going to be worthless to vote. That's a bit point blank. It's as simple as that. And the other thing is, you know, legacy media here and just the way a lot of employers treat their employees if they have conflicting political views. This is like an entire machine that is operating in favor of one party and against another party. So when you live your life like completely disenfranchised and you think that your vote doesn't matter or whatever, like I'm not one of these people like your vote matters. It does matter, but it's more important to speak your mind and to, you know, again, be consistent with these things. And the other thing that I want, and again, you don't have to listen to me. This is just my opinion. This is my outlook on things, right? My other opinion is this, excuse me. I see a lot of people that won't vote for this candidate because they did this. They won't vote for this candidate because they did this. This guy was involved in this. This guy was involved in that. Guys, you got to get it together, okay? Like something is better than what we have now, okay? I don't know who the perfect candidate is, okay? I'll be honest. I don't know who the perfect candidate is. People could say something that they're going to do and then nothing ever happens, okay? They could run on X, Y, and Z, and we don't get X, we don't get Y, and we don't even get Z. We get A, and we get B and C. Completely irrelevant for what they ran on, okay? I'm mindful of those things, okay? But the thing is, like, you know, you can't let one bad thing dictate. If there's a history of bad, that's a different story, right? If there's a history of negatives, if there's more negatives than positives, then of course, if these things are your opinion, this is what's negative to you, then you vote for the under candidate. But the fact remains is like, there's no perfect candidate, right? There's never going to be a perfect candidate. And it is what it is. But we're far from perfect right now, right? Yes, people nitpick. They nitpick. And you can't nitpick. Well, you can't have your cake and eat it, guys, right? Like, I mean, it just is what it is. If Healy if Healy gets in again, is U-Haul? Let's see. Here we go. Listen. Here we go. You guys want to hedge a bet? If Healy gets in, right? You're going to see this just explode, okay? So I would say that this would be a good buy, all right? That's all I'm saying, okay? This is not financial advice. It's just my opinion. But yeah, they're going to be doing some damage here in this state. There's no doubt about it. You're going to have more and more people moving out. 100%. All right, let me catch up on some of these, and then I got to run, guys. Massachusetts had 39% Republican vote, but they have zero representation in Congress, and Presley's congressional district is... Yeah, that's a problem too. So that's another thing that I wanted to mention to you guys. So like, no one person could correct this, right? You have an entire legislature. You have like, let's say a Republican governor gets in and something doesn't happen. It's not always entirely their fault that something doesn't happen because they have their entire backup against the wall of people on the opposing side, right? And they will do everything to disenfranchise that candidate, okay? I kind of doubt Healy is going to get it in again. Even a lot of Democrats are very upset with her. Did you all see the AG is going after legalization of marijuana again? No, I didn't see that. The RFP, request for proposal, was worked on for 3 years, as you mentioned. Then 2 years ago, trip to Ireland would be that window. Dina, I'm going to have to look into this. Thank you for this information. I was looking at that trip to Ireland too. I wonder if we could do a FOIA request for that. Probably not. Trump said the other day that there are about 40% Republican voters in Massachusetts, but how come there's 0 seat? Yeah. There's a lot of independent voters here too. So we'll see what happens. You know what I'm saying? And I'll provide more coverage on this. I was thinking about putting a video together comparing candidates, of course, I'm just gonna, my opinion is irrelevant, really, because you may align with some things that I don't align with. Totally dependent on you. But I was thinking about maybe putting like a spreadsheet and going over a spreadsheet of what their policies are and what they stand for, what they intend to do. I feel like that's another big problem here. The barrier to entry for this information is very, very difficult. And then when you have legacy media that doesn't even publish on some of this stuff, guess what? It makes it, the barrier to entry is even higher for people to get informed. And when you have a barrier to entry that's very high for information, guess what happens? People will continue to vote the same way. It is what it is. It's nuts. But something needs to happen. Something needs to get done. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. I got to get ready for a couple appointments here. But I appreciate everybody that came on today and just hashing out a couple things. And I'll do some more full-fledged videos on this. So in regards to the Moms for Liberty thing, I'm going to stay on top of that too, see how that progresses. On top of the MassDOT. The MassDOT one, I'm very concerned with. I am concerned about them losing the bid, but I'm more concerned about why, okay? That's what I want to uncover, is how and why. That's what's most important to me, at least in that regard. The last thing was the stuff that's going on with Woo and Boston and the green stuff. I'll probably do a more full-fledged video on that and just provide some insights on, what's going on. And that's it. But I'm happy you guys were able to come out today. I had a light morning today. Or I should say light early afternoon. No, I appreciate it, guys. I'll keep doing what I'm doing unless I find the wrong Uber driver one day. And the only reason I Ubered there was because I knew I wouldn't be able to find a parking spot at the State House. So I very rarely do I Uber. I don't like spending money on Uber when I have a vehicle. But then if I also have to spend money on parking and walk a mile or struggle to park and all this other stuff, it is what it is. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot to me. Hopefully, maybe one day, you never know, maybe I could do this more full-time and live stream more and all this other stuff. But for now, I got to get back to my day job. Go over to the Daily Wire and complain. Be like, what the hell is going on here? All right, guys, I'm